Tom Izzo, Michigan State. This will be his 16th Sweet 16, as this marks tonight being the first time the NCAA tournament has moved to the 64 format in 1985, where there will not be a team outside the high major conferences in the Sweet 16. In fact, only 4 conferences, we know them, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, and ACC are represented. And it's the first time since 2007 that there isn't a single team seeded 11th or lower at this point. Joining us to talk all hoops, former Stanford NBA hoopster and Fox hoop analyst Casey Jacobsen. Casey, you just heard Izzo call it the urinal portal instead of the transfer portal. Pretty accurate?
Oh, man.
Yes and no. I guess it depends on who you ask. There are certain coaches, guys, who have really benefited a ton from the portal, being able to reload and have a competitive team. But the way that Tom Izzo has done it for so long is recruit, develop, and, play older guys. And, that's why you saw Jim Larinaga retire and Tony Bennett retire and Coach K and Jim Boeheim. They've all kind of been pushed out a little bit, or at least voluntarily said, you know what, this is a young man's game. And it is. The transfer portal is a young man's coaching tool. It's not, for the faint of heart, and it's not for guys who want to build long term. So I understand where Tom Izzo is coming from. I still, guys, I believe that you can do it either way. I don't think there's only one way to build a basketball program and successfully win games in the regular season and the NCAA tournament. I would just say that the transfer portal has given players more freedom, more power, but it's also given coaches a chance to really, instead of having to wait a long time to be successful, it's given them a chance to really, bounce back and put competitive teams on the floor. So it works both ways.
Casey, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and as Rock alluded to, no mid-major in many, many years. And like football, we're hedging toward a super conference with football teams. Could we see that with basketball hedging toward that because they can outspend everybody, and then you got the rest of them, i.e. the mid-majors?
I do. I absolutely see that. I can't comment on the football side of it, but certainly what football does trickles down and affects every other sport, including men's basketball. But yes, because what's happened, the transfer portal along with NIL, it's the combination of both. Yes. It's not one or the other. It's the combination of both has now, I think, really, really hurt mid-majors, because now you're going to develop a player at the mid-major level, and he's going to become a star, and you're not going to be allowed. You can't afford to keep him. It's just it's not, no question about it. Whereas 5 years ago, that player still had an option to transfer, okay, but he either had to sit out, but he wasn't being paid, or at least it wasn't above board. And so that player was like, you know what, I should probably stay here, continue to stay with my teammates and coach that believe in me, and maybe they can develop me. Like John Morant 6 years ago at Murray State would have been playing at Duke or Carolina or Kansas in his second year instead of going to Murray State and staying there for a couple seasons. That's just where we are now. So, but the question is, are we eventually going to something else? I believe, yes, we are going to something else. I can't clearly define what something else is, but I do think that the have-nots are looking at, like, how can we even compete? And the haves are like, why do we even need anybody else besides, these four major conferences? Why don't we just have our own tournament, and the little guys can have their own tournament, and we'll do it that way. I do believe it's only inevitable if we continue along this path.
Casey, I'll give you something else right now. Here you have a team in the Maryland Terrapins, and their coach is quitting on them and taking the Villanova job. Look, I know that coaches bust out for other jobs during the regular season. I have seen that. I was trying to reference back in my memory bank if it ever happened in a Sweet 16 game where Kevin Willard will leave Maryland to go to Villanova and his team is playing in the Sweet 16.
I mean, I can't. It's a little bizarre, the situation. However, we do want transparency, right? We want people to be honest. We don't want people to lie to our faces. So, if that's the case, then we might not like the answers that come from these coaches or these players or these school presidents, what have you. So, yeah, it is a little bit awkward. Kevin Willard talking and constantly being asked, by the way. We also saw this with Will Wade at McNeese State, who took another job before the NCAA even started. They won a game even, too. So this is new, man. This is new. And I don't want to be judgmental because, I'm not in Kevin Willard's shoes. It is a little bit awkward. There's no doubt about that. And I can't speak for his players. It's got to be pretty awkward. I can imagine being in a Maryland uniform, being like, hey, is that coach with us or not? But I
about 4 minutes. 4 minutes.
The media person and me talking. I would rather have people be more honest than less honest, even if that creates a little awkwardness. I think we're all grown and we can get beside that. I just don't want people to lie when stuff's going on and they say it's not.
If you were not necessarily have to handicap something, but as you analyze Duke, Arizona, can you make a case for each to win this game?
Yeah, well, the case for Arizona, I only have two ingredients to it. One is Arizona is good enough in just one 40-minute basketball game on a neutral floor to beat Duke. Nice. I mean, there are some teams that aren't good enough. They don't have the talent. They don't have the size. Literally, you can play 100 games and they wouldn't win any of them. Arizona has enough talent that on any given night, they absolutely can win a game against Duke, okay? And the second ingredient is you got a guy in Caleb Love who not only has beat Duke before, he is one of the most irrationally confident human beings and basketball players I've ever seen. He's the streakiest. I would call Caleb Love the streakiest college basketball player that I've covered in 12 years of broadcasting. And if he's capable of taking over a game. Now, these two teams played. They played in Tucson, and Duke dominated them. So that's the argument for Duke is Duke went into Tucson where it's hard to win there and absolutely smothered Caleb Love. Caleb Love only had 8 points in that game. Cooper Flagg did whatever he wanted in that game. He had 24 points, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks, right? So, and that was it was way back in November when Duke was still trying to figure things out. Duke has gotten better. They've gotten stronger, it seems, playing with each other. So that's the case for a Duke side.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
I guess no. They're playing the best. I think Duke's playing the best basketball of any team out there. However, I just would say we have never seen a national champion ever with their 2 leading scorers as freshmen. It's never happened. So if Duke is going to cut down nets in San Antonio, they will do something that has never been done before.
Casey, can BYU shoot themselves the championship? Or are they on house money about right now?
Oh, no, man. Come on. BYU. So, do you guys know Bart Torvik, the website, Torvik, barttorvik.com? It's another analytics website. It's kind of like KenPom. If you go on Bart Torvik and filter out all the teams in the country from, I believe, February 1st until today, do you know where BYU ranks as like a performing basketball team? They rank 4th in the country.
Wow.
Okay,
wow.
This is not like some weird.
About a minute left. 1 minute.
I can't believe they're here. VCU, George Mason. I know we're not in the Final Four, just in the Sweet 16. But what I'm saying is, like, BYU absolutely belongs here, and they absolutely can win a game. They got a good inside presence with Keva Keita, who can protect the rim and rebound. Richie Saunders is balling, man. That guy plays so hard and can score in so many different ways. Yegor Demons, their freshman point guard, who is an elite passer. You want him to be more consistent shooting the ball, but he's an elite passer. BYU's got some tools, man, and when they are hitting threes, they are one of those teams that absolutely can do damage, real damage.
Okay, so when we're going to see you on television, what's your schedule?
So I'm no longer covering the NCAA tournament. Okay. I was there in the Wichita region for Westwood One Radio, but I will be in Fox Studios next week when we do the Crown tournament. It's a new tournament for
in Las Vegas.
Yeah, with some NIL components for the winners and stuff too. I think that's where some of these postseason tournaments are going too. So I'll be there.
He's Casey Jacobsen. You can follow him on X, Twitter, CJacobsen23, and he's part of Arena 23 at Arizona Avenue in Warner, just east of Arizona Avenue. We're hoping to get to do a show out here very soon, so we're getting excited for that. So, Case, thanks, man. We know you're busy. Thanks for a few minutes today.
I appreciate you guys. Have a good weekend.
That's Casey Jacobsen joining us here on Rocket Manooch with Jimmy B. All right, we need a contestant to challenge one of the beautiful Twin Peaks girls here from the Deer Valley location. It's our Peaks Picks brought to you by Bud Light and Neutral. We'll take the fifth caller. The phone number 602-230-00